everybody, it's Frankie-Lou. Luna and I are in the greenhouse in the sky today where we are prepping for the upcoming gardening season by recharging some of our used container mix. Now, I do approximately 50 containers every year. That's a lot. I have 3 different large garden spaces that I work at, and I use a lot of these. Particularly, I really enjoy having cut and come again kitchen garden containers outside on my deck at both of my homesteads so that I can just quickly scoot out and get some fresh greens or some fresh edible flowers or herbs or cherry tomatoes. And that's the sort of things I tend to grow in these in very densely growing companion plant combinations. So these containers have done a really wonderful job of producing a lot of food and providing a lot of nutrients and deliciousness for my family. That means that they've also been fairly depleted because a lot came out of here. Pounds and pounds of produce came out of each one of these little things. So that means if I were to try to grow something in here right away, I likely wouldn't have as great results. This potting mix is quite depleted and it needs to be recharged. Not exactly in the same way you would recharge your garden beds, because in a garden bed living soil, there are so many wonderful microfauna living in there and bacteria and fungi that are helping to feed your garden. You've got tons of worms, you've got mites, you've got nematodes, all these wonderful things going on in here that you're not going to have as much of in a container soil. So while I usually am pretty good with just I keep my living soil and my garden beds healthy through crop rotation, compost, and companion planting and covering with mulch. That's not going to have the same effect in here, because in these small spaces like these containers, there's just not as much of that microfauna and biodiversity going on. The space is too small and they're also warmed up too much. There are some things going in here, like there will be some wonderful fungi doing its job in here. Not going to get anywhere near the biodiversity in here as you're going to have in your garden bed. So that means you have to really think about how you're charging it up. You're not going to be able to do crop rotation in here, for instance. And these do tend to get a little bit more depleted than your garden beds do. Now, the other thing that you need to take into consideration when using container soil is what the components of the actual mix are. If you were to take garden soil directly from your bed, nice healthy soil, and put it in one of these containers, you're going to end up with a pretty densely compacted, almost brick, in a very short time. One of the reasons that this is going to happen is that lack of biodiversity. You don't have all this stuff moving around in there, creating the air pockets, creating the water pockets that are so necessary for plants to grow properly and for the soil to remain not compacted. So you really do have to treat this differently. I do, because I'm a frugal girl, and as I said, I have about 50 of these between my 2 homesteads and my commercial garden space. So I do amend my potting mix with a little bit of garden soil. We have a really wonderful mineral content here in Golden, so I do like to add that nutrient in here. But if I was to add more than, say, 20%, I would start running into problems. So I do add a little bit, but mostly I'm dealing with purchasing garden potting mix. You can make your own. I do tend to purchase the Pro Mix pre-made organic herb and veggie blend. I do find it a wonderful blend, and honestly, when I've priced it out, buying that in a bale or buying the separate ingredients, I don't see a huge difference in the cost. So that's what I tend to work with, and it does a wonderful job the first season, but now I gotta get it ready for next season. I'm not going to just throw this away. That would be stupid, because that is costly stuff, right? So let me show you what you can do so you can reuse your potting mix and save yourself a little money and have less waste, right? So first off, I have already removed all the outer above ground plants, clearly, and I put them in the compost. That compost will now go to feeding all my wonderful plants here in the garden. And ideally, I would put the compost bag in here. Unfortunately, my compost pile is frozen, so I won't be able to do that. And I'll show you some other amendments you can use, but compost is a wonderful choice. So now that I've done that, I'm going to do 5 of these at a time. I'm going to dump it into a bin. And you can see it is that wonderful mix. Okay. And one at a time, because otherwise I find I'm going to start removing some of the roots that are in here. All right. This one, oops, that particular pot didn't have a ton in it. If I had a tomato in there, you'd see that there was a lot of root. So I'm going to go ahead and do this with all 5 of these pots. And by the way, I obviously didn't buy these pots as well. These are my water cooler bottle winter sowing in place. See? I'm a huge fan of winter sowing. If you haven't seen that yet, check out some of my videos. And I love these water cooler bottles because I don't have to transplant. These are large enough to sustain plants in their grown mature form. So I just have to take the lids off when it's time. And they're reusable. They're so nice and sturdy. I think this is the 3rd use by the looks of it for this one, but it's still going strong. And the other reason I love them is I do so much of my gardening in Alberta where there's hailstorms, and these are wonderful for protecting my plants as they're in the smaller stage in the early part of the season when we tend to have more hail. I just leave these lids on until they're about to burst through, and by then usually our hail season is over. So if you haven't tried that yet, I would suggest it. I know I actually like the way they look when they're all planted up and overflowing and there's so much green everywhere. So this is what I use. So that's just a little side note on that. Please do look up those winter sowing videos if you want to know more about that. You can help with that? Huh? You want to get in here, don't you? Now, with the no-till garden beds, you'd be leaving these roots in place because all that wonderful life in the soil would be helping it to break down and decompose it and use it for nutrients for next season. But that's not going to happen in these containers. So it's a good idea to remove some of the larger ones. They're just going to get in the way. You could imagine how much it would cost. So if I were to buy new potting mix every year for 50 of these. I'm a very frugal girl. I'm not going to do that. All right. That looks like there might have been a tomato in that one. Let's get down here. Okay. So I've got that all emptied out. I'm really pleased. It's still really light and fluffy, which is what I want. I want light and fluffy in my containers. But as I said, this is depleted. So now I have to add some nutrition. As I stated earlier, compost is one of my favorite ways of adding nutrition because I'm reusing the dead plant matter from my plants and it's returning that nutrition back to the soil where it should go. I also really love worm castings. Worm castings are a wonderful way to add nutrition back to the soil, particularly since the nutrients in worm castings have already been made more soluble through the action of making it through the bacteria in the worm's belly so that the plants can suck up that nutrition a little better. But I don't have enough worm castings right now. So this is a product I'm going to use. It's seed soil. Now, I really like seed soil. I used to work in a garden center and we use this a lot. And it's a wonderful product. I like it for multiple reasons. It's the composted waste material from the forestry and the fishing industry. So there's some diversity in that. It's not all wood, it's not all fish. It's the two together, so you're getting some nice mix of nutrients that are going to be achievable to get out of this product. The other reason I like it is it is making use of a waste product and putting it back into the soil where everything should go eventually. And it's actually pretty reasonably priced because it is so rich. I find that you don't have to use anywhere near as much of this as you would with some compost products. So I have kind of learned over the years, for a big bale, like an entire huge bale of peat, if I'm amending it, I would add 1 of these bags. So if I'm using 5 of these containers, 2 handfuls per container mixed into the soil should be plenty to give it a good boost of nutrition and amp up the nutrients that the plants will be able to get. So I'm going to put 10 handfuls. I know I'm not super precise, and I know it drives some of you crazy who like lots of measuring, but I'm kind of a wing it kind of gal. That works for me, and it's less fussy, and I don't have time to be super fussy about everything. All right, so now I'm gonna mix all this in. That's gonna give a nice addition to my soil. Now, if I wanted to, it is still really fluffy, this stuff. I could probably get away with adding about the same amount of fresh garden soil as well, because this isn't, you can see, it managed to stay nice and fluffy. It's not compacted at all. You could probably add that if you want. If you're finding that your reused container mix is fluffy, go ahead and sneak in a little soil. If it's compacted, don't do that. That's when you want to start adding in some of the stuff that's going to improve the fluffiness. Compost is great. Any kind of organic matter that you're adding to your soil is going to improve the moisture retention, and is going to make it fluffier. So peat is an option a lot of people use. I'm trying to move away from peat a little bit. I found that even ProMix is now starting to add coconut coir to their larger bales, because there is a recognition that peat isn't as renewable a resource as something like coconut coir is. If you're going to add coconut coir, it's a great product. Just be sure that you're giving it a good rinse before you put it into your mix to add more fluffiness, because it can be salty and you don't want to be putting salt into your garden, well, into your containers. We've added the nutrition. We don't need to fluff this up. We could with the addition of peat or coconut coir. And then there's a couple of minerals. There's a few different minerals that we can add to also improve either drainage or aeration, depending on what we're looking for. But I am not going to do that until it comes time to put them in their individual containers, because different plants have different needs when it comes to whether they want it to be moister or more drained. And also when it comes to high plants, like I do like to plant chocolate cherry tomato plants in here with garlic greens and basil and stuff. And so that's a top heavy high plant. And therefore the mineral that I'm going to put in this bucket, if that's what I'm going to plant in there, is sand, because sand is heavier. It'll improve drainage, but it will also help to keep this from tipping over with my top heavy plants. It's the same story as when I do my three sister combo with a tall sunflower or a nice bit of corn, decorative corn in here. I'm going to put sand in here because that's going to stop it from tipping over from those top heavier plants. Now, if I'm putting a cherry tomato like a Red Robin in here, which is a bush determinate tomato, I'm not going to put sand in here. I will be more likely to use something like perlite. Now, another little thing that I should mention, vermiculite versus perlite. A lot of people think that these are interchangeable products. They are both natural minerals that have been mined and then heat processed a little lighter and easier to work with. Perlite, and the way to remember this is perlite creates pores. It improves the aeration, because in normal soil composition, 50% of normal healthy soil pockets for both air and water, right? So that's how you can get stuff that's compressed, because basically they compress that out, but what you want to do is you want to fluff that back up and get those pores back in place. Perlite is great for that. Think perlite pore lets in the air. Vermiculite is more flaky and it actually absorbs water. So if you're looking for better aeration, go with perlite. If you're looking for better water retention, go with vermiculite. So they're both lightweight, they're both great to have around. They're not going to go bad like some products will, and so I tend to have a big bag of those around here. But I can see from the lightness and the fluffiness here, it's very unlikely that I need to do much more amending now that I've added the added nutrition. All right, so I know I rambled on a bit, but hey, what's a video by Frankie-Lou if that doesn't happen? And I do appreciate you guys sending me your questions. That's where this video came from. So I've been getting questions about, can I reuse my soil? So I thought it was time to do this because I know a lot of you are prepping for the garden season. So you save some money and be really happy with your results at the same time. Lots more videos coming out soon on the wonderful different ways of using milk jugs and snugs. I'm going to do a couple more in the next week or so. Keep those questions coming. And as always, I hope you take this chance to grow together today. Have a good one.